Hello, students. Welcome to our second review for Unit 3, Relations and Functions. So to start our class for our Do Now, we will mindfully answer a question about personal strengths. Yesterday, we talked about other people's strengths, someone you admired. Today, we're talking about a strength that you have, a personal strength. We'll finish our review. That's our objective on relations and functions. Today's topics will include function notation, zeros of functions, and a little bit on arithmetic sequences. Our assignment will be to watch our video and complete the assigned pages. We will work problems 17 through 39. The most important thing you can do is to identify any areas where you are unsure. I will offer extra help today, and I'll put a link again in Teams. For our exit ticket, we will complete this thought. The domain of a graph refers to what values and how do we observe the graph. And then the range of the graph refers to what values. And then we will talk about how we observe the graph for the range values. For homework, I just want you to finish up this assignment that we're going to be working on now. And I want you to think about any problem areas you have with Unit 3. Think about if you need extra help. And you should plan to organize yourself so that you can use tomorrow, Wednesday, to do some extra studying to prepare for our test on Thursday. Remember, to get full participation credit, please turn on your camera during our opening discussion and also turn in photos of your assignments. You do not need to turn in a photo of today's assignment because it is a review. Also, Wednesday, you might want to use that time to do the interactive notebook assignment in Teams. It's due late Thursday, as is your homeworks. You're turning in your homeworks. So please follow directions very carefully when you're distance learning. It's important now more than ever when we're not there to kind of remind you of things. You're going to have to be a little bit of a self-starter and seek out the instructions you need. So Friday is, National Dice Day. So I thought for something fun, I would give you a little preview of what you're going to be getting toward the end of the year in algebra. So the question is, what is the probability of getting 11 when tossing two fair six-sided dice? And these regular game dice, where they have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 on each side, those are called fair dice. Fair die. Die is the singular. So two fair six-sided dice. Well, there's two ways to get an 11. The first way to get an 11 is to toss a 6 and then a 5. The second way to get an 11 is to toss a 5 and then a 6. So here's how you figure out the probability. First, you need the probability. So this will be the first way. Okay, you have the probability of getting a 6 is 1 out of 6. The probability of getting the 5 is 1 out of 6 as well. So there's 1, 5. Multiply those together for 1 out of 36. Now that's only for the first way to get to get an 11. The second way to get an 11, same thing. We have a 1 out of 6 chance of getting the 5, and then we have that 1 out of 6 chance of getting the 6. We multiply those together, so we have a 1 in 36 chance of getting a 5 and then a 6. But in order to calculate the probability of both, we add these together. So 1 over 36 plus 1 over 36 equals 2 over 36, which reduces to 1 over 18. So what's the probability of getting an 11 when you toss two fair six-sided dice and you need to choose doing it twice? It's 1 out of 18. Okay, here's our do now. How can you use a strength you currently have to become a better person? So I want you to look into yourself and be thoughtful about this and think, well, what are some of the strengths I have now? Not a strength that you want to develop, but what's something that you're good at now? Maybe you're good at advocating for friends. Maybe you're good at sharing. Maybe you're a good listener. So whatever it is, how can you use that strength to become a better person? So think about that, and it's always a good idea to make ourselves better tomorrow than we are today and to keep heading in that direction. Here's our exit ticket. We will get back to it. And let's work on our review. So the first topic we're looking at today is function notation. And we have three functions here: f of x, g of x, and h of x. And it says, find the function values using the given function below. So if we want to find function values, that means we're going to be doing some substitution for x. So they ask us in number 17 to find f of 6. So we always start with f of x as written. F of x equals 5x minus 20. Now we make our substitution. We want f of 6. So we substitute for 6. And f of 6, 5 times 6 is 30, minus 20 equals 10. So f of 6 equals 10. Now they want us to find g of negative 3. So here's our g. So instead of x, we have negative 3 squared plus 5 times negative 3 minus 11. Negative 3 times negative 3 is 9 minus 15 minus 11, and all of that equals negative 17. Okay, notice how I boxed the answers. Number 19, we are to find h of negative 8. So we've got h, is an absolute value function. So we'll substitute, use parentheses, please. So working from the inside out on this one, 2 times negative 8 is negative 16 plus 7. Negative 16 plus 7 is negative 9. And the absolute value of negative 9, absolute value of negative 9 equals 9. And that's our final answer. Now we're asked to find g of 7 minus 15. So we go to our g. So g of 7 is 7 squared plus 5 times 7 minus 11. And then we have this minus 15. And that would equal 7 times 7 is 49, plus 5 times 7 is 35, minus 11 minus 15, and 49 plus 35 minus 11 minus 15 equals 58. Number 21, we're asked to find negative 4 times h of negative 13. So here's our h. So this will be negative 4 times the absolute value of 2 times negative 13 plus 7. So evaluating inside the absolute value bars, we have negative 4 times the absolute value of negative 19, negative 4 times 19, because the absolute value of negative 19 is 19, and negative 4 times 19 is negative 76. And for number 22, we're asked to find f of negative 1 and then add to that g of negative 2. So f of negative 1 is 5 times negative 1 minus 20. That's our f. Then we're going to add, and here's our g, x squared plus 5x plus 11. So g of negative 2 squared plus 5 times negative 2 minus 11. And so it will be negative 5 minus 20 plus 4. Negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. Minus 5 times negative 2, negative 10, minus 11, and then when we combine all of those terms, we get a negative 42. Be very careful, use parentheses when you substitute. Number 23, given f of x. Now, we have moved away from these problems, this problem set. These directions were for 17 through 22. Now we've got new functions here. Number 23, given f of x equals 5 minus 3x, if f of x equals negative 19, find x. All you do is simply set this function here equal to negative 19. So it would be negative 19 equals 5 minus 3x, and then you just solve for x. So we subtract 5 from each side, and we have negative 24 equals negative 3x. Oops, that should be an x. And then divide both sides by negative 3. And x equals 8, because negative divided by a negative is a positive. Okay, now we're given 5/2 times x minus 1. That's our g of x. If g of x equals negative 16, look at the wording. If g of x equals, that's their clue that we need to set this function equal to 16. So find x. So negative 16 equals 5/2 x minus 1. So we'll multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 5/2, which would be 2/5. So multiply this by 2/5 and 2/5. Okay, so then we'll have, that allows us to eliminate, so 2/5 of negative 16 equals 5/2 x minus 1. So I think the first thing we need to do, actually, let's do something before we even do this. We have our negative sign. I actually should have added 1 to both sides before I did that. There we go. Negative 15 equals 5/2 x. Okay, now multiply both sides by the reciprocal of 5/2. So it would be 2/5, 2/5. Now, this and this cancel. So we have x on the right side. And 2/5 times -15, I'll do a sidebar. Put it over 1, cross cancel. And that equals -6. So our x equals -6. Okay. Now, for 25 through 28, we are asked to use the graph to answer those questions. So find f of -6. Okay, so this is our f right here. What is f of -6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's our -6. F of -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. F of -6 is 7. F of 0, here's our 0. And f of 0, see, this is the x value. They're giving us the x value here, and we're giving them the y value, which in this case is -2. So if f of x is -5, what is x? Okay, so now they're asking it slightly different. So if f of x is -5, now they're asking, this is the y value here. So we have to find -5, so -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, right here. So what is x? It looks like x is is 2, positive 2. So because that would be the point 2, -5. Now, if f of x equals 4, again, this is the y value. So 1, 2, 3, 4 puts us right there. What is x? And at that point, x equals -4. So let's move on to the next page. So here, we're going to identify the zeros of each function, and we just look at the graph. So for all of these three, number 29, 30, and 31, our answer will be in the form of x equals, because we're finding the zeros of the function. So here is my 0, and it's where it crosses the x-axis. Let me write that up here. Okay, so we're looking for where the function crosses the x-axis. Okay, and it crosses the x-axis at -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, right here. So x equals -5. All right, it looks like we have two places here. When we have more than one answer, we will use set notation. So it crosses at, this looks like -1, and this looks like 1, 2, 3. So x equals -1 and 3. This is a cubic equation. This next one, it crosses the x-axis in 3 places, 1, 2, 3. So we'll need our set notation. It crosses at this first place is 0. It crosses here at 2, and it crosses right here at 7. So there's our 3 values, 0, 2, and 7. So next thing we're going to do, though, for number 32 and 33, we're going to find the zeros algebraically. So to do that, you set the function to 0 and solve for x. Okay, so 8x minus 16 equals 0. Add 16 to both sides of the equation. 8x equals 16. Divide both sides by 8, and x equals 2. And now f of x equals negative 10 minus 2/3 x. We set that equal to 0. Negative 10 minus 2/3 x equals 0. Then we add 10 to both sides. Negative 2/3 x equals 10. And we can either multiply by the reciprocal, or we can make it into two steps by multiplying both sides by 3 and then dividing by 2. I'll just multiply by the reciprocal. We have to include the negative sign. Negative 3 over 2. Negative 3 over 2. So this cancels, and x equals, so 10 times 3 over 2, that's a negative. We cross cancel. So that would equal negative 15. And that's what x equals, negative 15. Now, in this next set of problems, number 34 and 35, we are asked to find the zero of each function graphically. So what I've done is I graphed them using Desmos. So if I look at this, I have a 0 here at negative 5, 0, and negative 2, 0. So for this equation right here, bring those up again. Okay, do you see those x values, negative 5 and negative 2? So when I get to my problem, I will write x equals, if there's more than one value, use set notation, negative 5, negative 2. Now we'll graph the next one, number 35. And this one has been graphed in blue. And it crosses, this is a quartic, x to the 4th power, and it crosses the x-axis 4 times. It crosses at negative 1, 0, 2, and 7. We're only interested in the x values when we write this. So x equals, set notation, from least to greatest, negative 1, 0, 2, and 7. And just a few more problems here. This is our arithmetic sequences. So we're asked to write a formula, number 36, for the sequence below, then find A18. So we need to figure out D and A1. Okay, let's actually write the formula. A to the n equals D times the quantity n minus 1 plus A sub 1. A sub n equals D times the quantity of n minus 1 plus A sub 1. A sub 1 is our first term. And D is the common difference. And our n is the number that you want to find. So our first term is 5. And what's happening here? subtracting 2, subtracting 2, subtracting 2, subtracting 2. So our common difference is -2. So a to the n, we're just going to find the formula, then we're going to, we're just finding the formula at this point. That's all they've asked us to do. So a to the n equals our common difference, -2 times the quantity of n minus 1 plus the first term, which is 5. Now we're going to distribute, which will give us -2n plus 2 plus 5, and then we'll combine like terms, -2n plus 7. So that's the formula. Now we've been asked to find the 18th term. So I think I should change my color, and we'll squeeze it in here. So a to the 18 equals -2, it's just a substitution, 8 times 18 plus 7. And -2 times 18 is -36 plus 7, which equals -29, and that's our final answer for that. So a sub 18, or the 18th term, equals -29. Number 37, we are to find the 34th term. Our common difference is -2 to 5, that's +7. 5 to 12 is +7. 12 to 19 is +7. So our common difference is 7, and our first term, our a sub 1, is -2. So first we will write the formula, and then we'll find the 34th term. So a to the n equals 7 times n minus 1 minus 2, which equals, first we distribute 7n minus 7 minus 2, and then we combine those two like terms, so that would give us 7n minus 9. That's our formula. Now we're going to use that formula to find the 34th term. So a sub 34 equals 7, and we'll put parentheses around the n, and we'll substitute 34 minus 9, and that will give us 7 times 34 minus 9 is 229. All right, last two problems. Tabitha started working at a coffee shop making $8.75 per hour. Every 6 months, she gets a 40-cent raise. Write a formula to represent her hourly wage after each raise. So our common difference is this 40 cents, 0.40. But our first term is 8.75. I'm going to put this in parentheses, plus the first iteration of the raise, plus 40. So that would equal $9.15. So this is our first term. So let's write the formula first. A sub n equals the common difference, which is 0.40, times n minus 1 plus our first term, which is $9.15. So first we distribute the 40 cents. So 0.4, and we don't need that 0, we can take that out. And 0.4 times -1 is -0.4 plus $9.15, Now we'll combine these two like terms to give us 0.4n plus 875. So that's our formula. Now, find her hourly wage at 3 years. So what's our nth term? 3 years, well, this is every 6 months. So 3 years is 36 months. But the raise comes every 6 months, so you have to divide that by 6. And 36 divided by 6 equals 6. So our n equals 6. Very important. That's the nth term, the 3 years. So we start with our formula here, 0.4, and we substitute for n the 6 plus $8.75. And when we evaluate all of that, 0.4 times 6 plus $8.75, we have $11.15. And that is how much Tabitha will make after 3 years at the coffee shop. So we have a lot to chew on there. Let's go back to our exit ticket. And we'll complete that thought. The domain of a graph refers to the x values. Observe the graph from left to right. The range of a graph refers to the y values. Observe the graph from top to bottom. Please make sure you turn in all of your homeworks by Thursday, as well as your interactive notebook. Finish this review and look for a very small assignment on Wednesday that counts for attendance. Keep up the good work, study hard, and if you study hard and you practice, you will be great. See you tomorrow.